and we put a name logistic regression. So now logistic regression we are going to learn in this classroom. Logistic regression is a regression. Logistic regression is a model or classifier model generally used for the classification of the data set. And this about this model we already seen their graph and their equation in my last class. So let's start understand the logistic regression with the Python in this classroom. So let me share my screen. Actually, I didn't share my screen. That's why. Okay. If the screen is visible to you, I guess yes. So now, to let me run print hello world to run this cell. It is connecting and allocating the memory and RAM sites. Now it's working. So now, so I am going to import in the first cell. I am going to import some library which I am going to use to explain this class. The first library is very important library, and we are going to use most of the time in the machine learning field is a NumPy. Second library is matplotlib, is a library for handling some matplotlib matplotlib.pyplot Second library I am going to use again matplotlib, but this time I am using other package inside the matplotlib. Third library I am going to use sklearn. Actually I didn't use sklearn in this point, but sklearn is not like more difficult. It is easy to handle. I will explain everything in this classroom. Don't worry about it. Here I am going to use a part package here, model selection. Don't worry, I will explain every part of the sklearn in this classroom also. Okay. Third, again, there is one more model or package. It's called matrix. Import accuracy score and mean square error. I guess you understand why I am going to use mean square error. Mean square error is helping me to find the absolute error in this in the form of square term. Now the third is new, but it is easy to understand. TQDM. Why I am using TQDM in this classroom? I will explain. Please uh, don't don't be confused anywhere. I will explain every point. So this is some library I am going to use. First library you already seen in my classroom. This library is also seen in the last classroom. This is the other part of making the some color pattern. This one, sir. Hello. Any issue?
Good evening, sir.
Yes. Good evening.
Sir, ये lecture की recording provide हो जाएगी?
Yes, actually I am recording this session. You see that?
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. ये पूछना था.
And you are not joining the session in live?
No, sir. Actually, I have a family function today and I'm attending that. That's why.
Okay. Okay. And
So, sir, please provide recording in
Okay, but recording will be provided in like in the up to or maybe 2 or 3 days, after 2 or 3 days. Okay.
Sir, before the next lecture, will I?
Yeah, next session will happen on the Tuesday, na? Because it's the last lecture of the week. Yeah, definitely. I will share the video to the EduVitae. They will provide the videos.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, now. So I'm going to explain one by one. First is a NumPy, second is Matplotlib, third is color pattern. These three leverage easy to understand. This is a new things. Train, toss, test on split. So I will use this in this classroom and I will explain why I'm using this. This is the two more function is accuracy score and mean square error. Mean square error is helping me to calculate the square error, and this is the a comparing function to checking that your prediction is right or wrong by using this accuracy score. So I will using these two function in this classroom. Third is TQDM. So TQDM, that's what I'm going to use. Whenever I'm using this TQDM, I will explain what is the meaning of TQDM. So now this four library has been done. Now, so let me connect my Wacom that I will going to write something in my classroom. Just 1 second. Okay. I guess my yeah, this is working. Okay. So now, in the very first day of class, I already explained that this graph means just 1 second. Not maybe next time. So here is input and output will decide the program. So here input output is nothing. Here input output is the nothing. It is a data set. Data set. So we are creating a model, logistic regression model. So you have to train the model by using the input and output. For this class, I'm not going to use real data set. I will generate the data set by using the code. So this time I'm using a library, a scalar for generating the codes. So let me write the code from a scalar data set. Actually this function, this package contain multiple data set. But I'm generating the data set for understanding better thing, understanding logistic regression in very easy way. This function name is macbox. Okay, macbox, and this function will help me to generate the data. Okay. Now second line I am going to write here. This is very, maybe this is the very new thing for you, but it is one time. So uh, I'm not going to be make you confuse more. So this is a one time thing. So you have to memorize this stuff. So matplotlib dot pyplot, not pyplot, sorry, colors like this, and you have to use dot linear, just 1 second, linear segmented color. This is a function from yes, this is the right. Okay. Okay. So this function will help me to create the data set in different properties. So I am using this variable in my using with the help of macball to derive different data set. So now Next line I'm going to write here, Mac balls calling this function, and this function will need multiple input. First input is say how many input, how many data you are going to generate. So I'm going to be add n samples, and I want to generate the 1000 number of data set, 1000 data set. How many center? Center means how many what? I will explain what is the meaning of center. And third is n feature. How many input feature is possible in this case? Like input thing. Center is just like the output. How many output is possible? 4 output. And feature means how many input is possible? The 2 input. And the third, it is a random variable. It's called the random state. I will explain why I am using random state 0 in this case. And when you call this function, they will generate 2 outputs. First is your data, means input, and second is your labels. Okay, this will generate these things. Okay, now let's run this. See what is inside the data. So see, data content is some number because they are containing only what? They are containing 2 feature. That's why they are returning the 2 feature, x, x1 and x2. Suppose I am changing to this point. Oh, it should be 10,000, not like 12,000. Now save it, not save. Let's run it. Oh, sorry, again. Suppose I am changing the feature 3 and run it. See, x1, x2 and x3. But I want to be using my this way. Number of feature is 2 and number of sample is 1000. If you don't believe, just pass save. And you see, let me run it again. 1000 number of row and 2 column. Okay, that's why. And this data is returning is a numpy array. Now if you see what is inside the labels. And see, there's some number like 3, 2, 1, 0 means only 4 number is possible, 0, 1, 2, 3, because you have 4 center. Means this time you are telling the data set containing 4 type of outputs, 4 type of output. So like this way. Means x1, x2, by using the n feature they will generating, and they will generating some number like 5.2 and 3.9, and they will generate by using x1 and x2 they will generate a value y either 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So this time you see every data is giving the 4 output. It is meaning that it is a fixed value, either it will be returning 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So yeah, the fixed value are you are getting. So it is meaning that you have getting the 4 data, fixed data. I mean this is a part of classification. So that's why we have to write the model for classify this data, and we are learning logistic regression because logistic regression is a classifier model, and we are learning this using this data set. Okay, till this point something is clear, like why what is the meaning of center, what is the meaning of features. And now I will explain random state in after the few minutes. But guys, you are understanding about this all these 3 function, 3 argument? Please let me know. Have you understand these three all the argument? Okay, I will explain it one more time. Basically, you are learning logistic regression. Logistic regression is a model to classify the data, and and we have we need this is the logic regression means the logic regression is a regression to classify the data, means this is a classification. So we need a data set because we are learning the logic regression with the scratch python. We are not using the real data set. Okay, so we are using this function macball which is under the sklearn, which help me to generate the data set for learning machine learning or logistic regression. So I am using this function to generate the data. This function contains four arguments. Okay, this third argument is optional. Fourth argument is optional. The first argument, how many number of data you are going to generate. So I want to generate 1000 data, 1000, and where four center means four type of data we are going to generate. Suppose we are going to generate two. Okay, and we run it. So data will be containing only two type of output, either 0, 1 and 2. Okay, either 0, 1 and 2, and also we are going to with this data. Okay, for two center and feature two center, everything is perfect. Now and feature, how many input is, how many feature means how many input feature is possible. So I want to generate two input, x1 and x2, and output is fixed, either 0 or 1 because your center is 2. Suppose your center is 3 and run it. You see the three outputs possible, 0, 1 and 2. Okay, but for learning I am going to use 2. This function will generate the data. Data contain two input, x1 and x2, and one output is possible. An output is only possible either 0 or 1, either 0 or 1 because you're sending passing the center 0, passing the center 2. So guys, you little bit confused. Let me draw this data in the matplotlib by using the matplotlib. So just check the shape of also this. Okay, 1000 row and shape is fixed, that's why it is 1000 comma 1000 comma. This is a vector and this is a matrix. Now next, let me plot this data in a diagram. So I am using this plot dot scatter and a scatter rate data containing all the data, 0 column, in the y section containing all the data, and 0 section. Okay, and plot dot show. Let me see this, what is happening. Oh sorry, it should be the 1. It should be the 1. I will explain what is the meaning of this. Okay, you see the 1000 point are printed in this graph. Let me zoom this. 1000 data is printed in this graph, and how this x and y is getting means this is the point and this is another point, means you have data. If you print data is this, the data has two column, one x and one x2, means 0 column and 1 column. So I will select entire row. By this way I will select entire row and only selecting first column, and which is going for the this x section, this x section, and y section I am using all the column, all the rows, and selecting the column 1, and it will go for the y axis. So this is the way that you have to print the data. Guys, if you are facing any problem to understand this scatter function by using this data, please let me know. I will explain it again. I know this is little bit confusing, but if you join my last class where I explained this function in the NumPy case. Selecting all the column and 0, selecting all the rows and column 0, selecting all the column, all the row and column 1. This is the way that you have to select this. So if you see, listen carefully, 466 and this is the number, listen carefully this. So I am selecting all comma 0 means selecting all the row and selecting one column, and this is the output. Okay, and if you selecting all the row and one column, this is the output. Clear? Any confusion, guys? Yes or no? Clear? Now, if you little bit confused by using this variable, so I will explain. I will create one more variable here, and I am using the CLS colors, and I am going to pass red, comma green. Okay, and suppose I am passing C for color. I am passing red. Suppose I am passing this. Every product is going to move the red color, but you know every data containing a label which is either 0 or 1. So I am using C is equal to labels C is equal to labels, and you see this. Okay, C is equal to label. Just 1 second. And I am using C map is okay. Okay, we cannot use this. Sorry. Oh. Okay, so this is the data. But if you want to use the color according to your choice, you have to use this variable. So my C map cap. So you have to add one more argument, C map, and I'm going to use my C map. And this is a way that you have to get your own choice color. C map is not defined. Let me run this. Okay, now you are getting the two color, red color and green color, red color and green color. So mean this is the data set, and you are going to be classify this data set. Okay, means you are going to be create the a classifier. Let me use some black color. A classifier just like that. This one. This is the red section and this is a green section. So you need to be get this classifier in this case. So now I am going to use logistic regression. I am going to write the code in the logistic regression to classify this data set. But before jumping that part, I want to know if you are facing any problem. Ignoring this variable, my CMAP, if you ignore this part, not issue. Ignoring this random state, if you're not understanding this part, not an issue. But apart from this, if you're facing any problem to understanding anything, please let me know.
Sir, how did it select the data inputs?
Which select?
Sir, how did it select data numbers?
Data numbers. Oh, okay, you are telling like this number.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it will generate it randomly.
Okay.
Any more question? No. So data set is ready. So our data set is ready. Now I am going to create our machine learning model which classify this data set. Okay now. So this data is so simple. So I don't want to use this data set. I want to make it more complex. That's why we need to see how logician is not good for every data set. So I will change this center 2 to 4. So this data, this graph is looks like this. Okay, clear? And now I am going to add some code which data will be modified. So what code I am going to add here? I am going to update the label. I will create a label original, and I am going to add labels. Actually, label spelling is wrong. It should be EL. Let me run this. Let me run this. Okay, and I will update the labels new by np mod labels. Okay. So before this, let me print. So now I am going to print labels first. Let's see what is the labels. Now labels contain this value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I am going with this operation. First, it will be a store all the label in this variable, and I will be modulus divide entire data by 2. Entire data by 2. Suppose the data is 0. So 0 mod 2 will convert it. Hello, who is this guy? The puzzling. The name is puzzling. What? Please don't join the class without using any different, and please don't share the classroom link with anyone. Okay. So there is a mod 0 mod 2 will be like 0 1 1 mod sorry 1 mod 2 is equal to 1 and 2 mod 2 is equal to 0 and 3 mod 2 is equal to 1. So you see, so your data will be converted like 0 or 1 0 or 1 only, like this way. So after going with this operation, just 1 second everyone. Anyway, so after going with this operation, if we printing label again, See what the output is this. Oh sorry, after running this, your output will be converted in 0101, and when you plot this diagram again, the data set is looks like this. Clear? So this is little bit trickier data for handling the logistic regression. So now this data should be looks more complex than last data which I shared with you. Clear? Guys, you understand how this data is getting from after getting this operation? If you're not understanding, I will repeat it again. Hello? There's any confusion at all to understanding this? Okay. So what is happening? Our label is this. Our label array containing 3, 0, 1, 2, and this label will printed this diagram. According to this label, this is the diagram because 0, 1, 2 and 3 maybe. But I converted this data in this format by this operation, means it is divided by 2. It is divided by 2 and getting the modulus value. You know, if there is a 3 will convert it to 1. 3 will convert it to 1 and 0 will convert it to 0. 3 will convert it to 1. 2 will convert it to 0. Because when you taking a mod of any number by 2, it will return either 0 or 1. So this is your final output. And if you using this label, your graph is looking like this. Got it? Yes or no? Cool. So now the data set is ready. Let's start to understanding the logistic regression. Guys, I didn't explain the class and object in the Python, but I will explain it here. I hope you will understand that. So, I will create a class. The name is logistic regression. Okay? And you know, just remember the gradient descent algorithm. Suppose you have a, what is the meaning? At the end, you input and output will decide the program. Means your program is looks like this. This, if you're talking about the logistic, this is a linear question. If you're talking about the logistic, just one second. If you're talking about this, your model is sorry, not this, negative of ax plus b. Okay, so at the end what you are going, you have to find the value of a and b. And if you remember my gradient descent algorithm, where this is the graph and this is the equation graph, loss function graph e, and this is your a and b, and you have to find the value of a and b where e is minimum. So you will start it with random a and b, and we have to train the model changing by value by a and b again and again. So I will use the same approach here. So I will create two variables first. So this is a way you have to create a class variable in the Python. So I am using w instead of a. So I will go with some random value first. W will be select two variable, and now So your input and output decide the program, means y in the function of x being unit. You are using the logistic regression. You know the model looks like this. The model is looking like this. Model is looking like this. So we are going to be create a function to getting this equation. So I will create first function for handling this. So now I am going to write this function one by one. So I am going to use def and I am going to make the function name is perceptron. Whatever you can use name, but I am using the perceptron. Okay. This is a class function, means this function is inside a class, so you have to add self. Okay. And I am using the parameter x and return np dot of x with self dot w dot transpose dot plus self dot b. I will explain everything, don't worry about it. So what does this function mean? So this function means you are calculating this value. Let me use some different color. Means you are calculating this variable ax plus b. So here means this here using the w instead of a, and there is a b is b. This a and b is fixed. Now here perceptron means w means np dot means x or w or x dot w transpose plus b. So this is similar to this equation. Okay. Now here why I am transposing this? Because dot product is possible only if you follow these properties. Means this is x1, x2, x3. If you going with this converting a row to row wise like w1 and w2 and w3, so you will get x1, w1, x2 and w2. This part is already explained in my previous classes, so that's why I am writing this function to getting this equation. Guys, there is any issue to understand this function, perceptron function? Tell me yes or no. If you are confused, I will repeat the entire function. I will take this class one more time. But please make everything understandable. If you are facing any problem, please let me know. Are you able to understand this function? Everyone. I'm not only pointing the Himanshu or any other guy. I'm talking about I'm talking with the Ayush and other like Selja or everyone. This point is clear. So now, thank you. So now, next function. So next function is sigmoid function. Whatever you have to write, guy, I am using self because this is a class function of the class, that I am using self. I guess this is the simple. Okay. Okay, now see the sigmoid function. Sigmoid function is see is easy. Here, this is nothing. This is like sigmoid function. If g of z is a sigmoid function, so it will return this. The same thing is returning here. Okay. So this is easy to understand. Now second, now this is difficult to understand. Grad W. I will explain. This will take some time. Okay. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of this? So, when you using the gradient descent algorithm, when you using the gradient descent algorithm, oh, why is it? When you using gradient descent algorithm, and the in gradient descent algorithm is what? Gradient descent algorithm follow a function like j. J function is nothing. J function is a function of total square error, like y minus y predict का whole square from point 1 to n. This is the j, or this is called the square, and j function is follow a graph like this. If this is j and this is the w and b, means you have to find this value where j is minimum, and if j is minimum, for that w and b is the final value, and this will be the good value to predict the output. This is the thing. So now every time you are updating the value like this, w changing in w by delta w. So this function is that this grad w is nothing. This is a change in w. Okay, change in w. So how we get this change in w? In the last class I already explained. So change in w is means you need dw, oh sorry, you need to be, you have a function like y minus y predict का whole square. This is a function, this is j, and you are going to j by j theta, oh not it, dw, and this is a function nothing. This function is y minus prediction is nothing, means this is your prediction. Okay, and you will get dw. Okay, so you need dw in this equation. So how we get this dw in this equation, we have to understand, and we need to find this equation, means delta w we need to find. So I'm not going to be derive this equation, entire equation one more time, but if we derive in your copy, you will get delta w is nothing. Let me remove this. Delta w is nothing. Delta w is y minus y predict and y predict into 1 minus y predict by into x. This is the final. Right now my Wacom is not working properly, so that's why I'm not able to drive, but maybe this is issue because of my data cable, so I will fix it by tomorrow, don't worry about it. Let me use my OneNote. So maybe I will this will working well on my that case. So I'll try to explain this equation one time. Okay. 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 Let me try to explain this. So here J is what? Just one second. J is this y minus y predict का whole square. Okay, from 1 to 1, and you will get to jw. Okay, so now what is the meaning? So we have to understand first what is the meaning of y predict. Y predict is nothing. Y predict is this. I hope you are comfortable with that. Yes or no? For logistic regression, this is your y predict. Guys, please say yes or no. If you say yes, means you are understanding. Hello? This is y predict, na? And they say no, so I will repeat it again. Hello? Okay, now. So, JW in J theta. So, I am going to use my partial derivative. So, partial derivative is what? It will be like going with this dy and this sorry by dw. So, you know about that. So, here you will get 2 will come first and you will get y minus y product, and now we'll have to derive this. So y is a constant, so dy or dw is again 0. Now come to this point, the d predict. So y predict is nothing, y predict is this. Okay, now second, now so it will multiply with this and then multiply with this will 0 and you will the final multiplication is this. So 2y minus y predict, and now we have to again the chain rule, so we have to be derived by this equation. So you will get 1 plus e raised to the power and you know this is nothing, negative will come again and negative will comes out and it will be go to -2. Now again you have to derive by this. So first you will derive with this constant term and now we have to derive this, you will get and you have to derive with this and you will get x. So now I am going to be calculate this. So y minus y predict, and this is the equation. So it is like if you changing this value again, so it is a whole square So I will be add, okay, so this is y minus y product, and it is going from, I think I'm making some mistake, I guess. This is y product, okay, the whole square, and it is just one second. This is the negative one, it will go up, negative one comes, and negative one minus negative 2, and it will be kicking in a square, and 1, okay, ठीक, otherwise this is square, and I'm going to be like making in revert, so it will be like 1, sorry, first it will be add plus 1 minus 1, means after getting this you will getting like this, 1 minus y product and into x, and it will be cancelling each other. So after the derivation I'm not going to complete derivation, so it will be like looks something like that, and we also ignoring 2, okay. So y product, so y product and 1 minus y product and into s. So this is your change in w. Guys, are you comfortable with this equation? Hello? Thank you. If you're like free, you can drive it in your free of time and you will get this equation. Okay? So that's why I am using this equation to make you understand this. Y first we'll calculate the y product, and it's getting from 1, and it is getting from self dot sigmoid and self dot perceptron passing x. Now and returning what? Y minus y product multiply with y product multiply with 1 minus y product into x. Now same as grade W, we have get grade B. Now in this case everything is similar, only one thing is change. You don't have the extra x. This is the, if you don't believe, you have to derive in your free time. Now till this point I explained the every term of the logic regression. First the perceptron is nothing, perceptron is ax plus b, and this is a sigmoid function. Sigmoid function is this function which I already explained. In this case this is the sigmoid function, 1 by, this is sigmoid function, and this is the gradient, grade w and grade b. This is you have to calculate it. I already explained by this equation. You have to understand. If you're free of time, please go with this equation, you will get the value of that, and this is your output. Now the next we have to start the training. So I am going to pass call def.fit, and I am going to use self because this function is class function, and I am going to capital X and capital Y. This is your data set, and I am going to use a pop. 10. By default it's set to be 10, and I'm going to add a learning rate, which is I miss. Okay, learning rate is already explained. Learning rate nothing. If you go with this equation, already explained in this case, you're changing in W. So if you want to change in slow, and you have to control the slowness, so change in W, not like that, but you can be add change in W to multiply with a small number, which is called the learning rate. This is alpha, and this is your final equation. So I am learning rate by default I am set to be 0.5, but according to time I will change it. So now this is the equation we are going to write. Now same again, when you starting the training gradient descent, I will take some random value of W and B and changing the value and see it is the decreasing the error or not according to time and according to after the epoch, and we have to train continuously. So now we are adding self W, and I am taking a random value, random. This is a function for generating a random number, and random means how. So 1 and single row, and how many single column, and how many row you are going to generate according to the shape of the data set, according to the shape of the data set. So here means suppose x1 x2 is the there, so your data set is looks like your w1 and w2 is the it is the total w, so that's why we are generating this. Don't worry, I will repeat it again. And now we go with the passing 0 as a random number. Now we are storing a variable loss, means every epoch, means every w, means for this starting with random value. Suppose you are going to random value, so starting with a random value, so we are storing the loss. So see if the loss, now changing the w with this function, we again store the loss. Now again changing the w with this function, now I store the loss. After a certain number of time we see the graph of a loss, and we can understand for which w we are getting the minimum loss. So now we are storing the loss in the as an array. Now I am using the loop for the epoch for I in the range of epochs. But problem is this for loop is a Python for loop, and it is not going, it is not looks like a processing for loop. It is not a processing for loop. It will be continuously, and it will be continuously, it will not show any progress bar or anything in the console. So instead of using this for loop, I am using with the for loop I am using one more function, which is the TQDM function, sorry, which help me to show some progress in my console. Only checking the progress in the console I am using this. And guys, please don't be confused. I will repeat this entire function in one more time, because I know this is very difficult to understand for the beginner, because I was the student sometime and I was facing the same issue in my childhood. Right now I am not like a very old guy, but this is my in my college day actually I am facing this part. So now this is a function TQDM, means how many epochs, and U means total epochs you are going to add here, nothing else. So now let's understand both theoretical part and coding part simultaneously. So how and what will happen now? So you are going to be, this is your E or J, your j is looks like this का whole square, sorry, whole square, and it is 1 1 plus का whole square 2 2 means like go. If you elaborate this function, you see y1 minus wx1 plus b का whole square and so on. Clear? So we are going to be using the same approach. So that's why I am using the for loop. So first you will start epoch number 1. Now you have epoch number 1. We are going to start the training with random w and b. Okay, with random w and b. Now we get this w and b means we are going to complete this function. So you see this total equation. So this is your dw1 means like not dw1. No, no, no. Okay, listen carefully. Let me write the code and then I will explain you. 1 second, just 1 second. Now, I will create two variables dw passing to 0 and db passing to 0. Okay? Now I am using 4x comma y and make in zip. Okay, zip is like a Python means sometimes you are making a loop in the data set and you have a data like input and output. So if you using zip, a small x will be replaced with the one entity of x and a small y replace the entity of y. Same as just like that. Just like that. Like if you using x in x, it's meaning every time you're taking the x in the iteration of this, but if you using have two variable with the same iteration, so I will be using the zip function. I think we have to repeat this function one more time in my next class, but let me complete this. Now, so every time you will be get self grad okay. Now let me make you understand. Oh, sorry, not this one. Okay, now listen. So, okay, now listen. In the last time, you are drive this equation, and this equation is getting delta w is y minus y predict into y predict into 1 minus y predict into x. This is the delta w. But now if you delta w1 means this is the only for the one row and only for the one row of data. Okay. Now same for w2, it is y2 minus y predict of 2 y predict 2 1 minus y predict of 2 into x2 and so on. Guys, you understanding this part? Yes or no? Hello? Are you able to understand this part? Hello? Tell me. I'm waiting. So same again in the code part, I am calculating the W0 and WB and adding the every delta W, make it 1, because here total del change in W is depending on entire change in W, because you will get just one different graph. You will get delta W1 here, delta W2 here, and you will add a plus. Finally, you will get delta W. And by this way, I will change in W, change in B, and we are calculating like this way. This till this point, there is any confusion, guys? Yes or no? Hello. Now, so we are still should be inside this for loop. Okay, now self dot W is nothing, change in W with learning rate, just say learning rate into what, change in W. Self dot B minus learning rate into change in B. Why this LL? Okay, everything same. Now, okay, now we have to add the same for loop. Now we have to get Y predict. This is the Y predict final, and self dot sigmoid. Okay, self dot perceptron. Everything is similar. इसके बाद X. Now please tell me if you are facing any problem till this point. Means at the end you will get the final delta W and delta B, and you are going to predict the output with the same delta B and delta W, and you are going to compare that how many, means just one second. So you are going to be check to mean square error. Okay. Okay. So, and you are storing ls, links loss, and after that you will be loss dot append into this. Now let me explain one more time what is this. Okay, now see. Just go to this code. Till this point, everything is clear. Now what is happening? You have W, U and B. If you're talking about this graph, you are in here. Okay? And this is your loss, okay, or loss, and this is your W and B. And now you are here, you are going to W and B. Now means your you have the predict function is ready. Ready. Okay, I will explain it, the caps y and small y. Please listen carefully here. This W and B has been decided. So this is the final value of W and B. And now if you this B, you are checking this output is right or not. So you will have a function like loss function where you will get y minus y predict the whole square. Okay, and you are checking for every data. Whole square. So till this point you have W and B selected, and the sigmoid function is printed your y prediction, and you go to add this loss. If this is loss, you are going to add this loss in this array every time. Okay, and now you will again start change in W, change in B with the same. Okay, this time your W and B is not random. This time is not sorry. No, sorry. Your this W not random. This W is fixed. And now you're changing it again. Okay, and your W in B is this. Now again you're getting the loss, and you're storing the loss in this array like this. Now the second, what is the difference between capital X and capital Y? With the in by this equation. So now listen carefully. In the data set, you have the data like X, X2 and Y. Okay, this is your row 1, this is your row 2. So this X represents entire data set, but a small x represents one row. That's why I am using X, Y in G of X and Y. Now here, prediction. Because you are using the numpy is great. You can apply same function for entire row. Suppose you have X, X2, X3, and you want to be applied the sigmoid function in this array by using the numpy, because this is a numpy array. So you can be get, if you apply directly sigmoid of this, you will directly calculate this function like this. Okay, so this is a way that you have to get. Now, but you are getting the prediction value right like this way, and you are getting the prediction. You again apply this mean square error directly to the entire value, and you will get the loss value, and you will append this loss value in this array. Now I guess there is a lots of confusion in this point. because you are seeing this part very first time, like very complex coding it here, not very complex but it looks like complex. But if you understand the theoretical part, you can understand this part very easily. So I think we should repeat this entire part one more time with the theoretical part, because this is the one thing. If you understanding this equation, you can understand every equation in the machine learning, because this is the difficult part. Now tell me if you have any problem till this point. I will explain briefly, but don't worry, I will in the entire function repeat one more time in my upcoming classes. But please share, please share me your thought where you are going to stuck. Hello, and don't hesitate if you are confusing. Don't be same, because this is, yeah, this fit function is the only function we are not understanding. Okay, anyone in this classroom who is able to understand the entire part? Anyone? Say yes or no. Okay, the theoretical part you understand, but not, you are not you are not able to relate this. TQDM is not. You can ignore this TQDM. This simple for loop. Please ignore this TQDM. TQDM is only helping me to see the progress bar. A progress bar is run only when if you run this cell. Just ignore this TQDM part. If you ignoring this TQDM part is okay. You are able to understand this part. Hussein, Hemant, Ayush, you are able to understand this selected part. Guys, I'm sharing this code with you. Please go or use your note copy, whiteboard, whatever you have, and draw the equation in your board or copy and see what is happening, and try to relate the theoretical part and this code. It will be very helpful for you. Okay, because this is the new, that's why you are confusing. But because I'm going to use this part maybe multiple time, and you will be resolve it. Even in the later classes, I'm not going to use this scratch code. I will use the libraries. But I want to explain this entire part, because if you understand this part, you can understand what is happening behind the library. Okay. So I'm not going to teach you next things, because this is the difficult part. You have to be memorized. We have to understand every point, and I will repeat this part in my next class, and I will be complete my last function. Okay, but let me write the code of the last function. Maybe you will be get the code, and you will be understand what is happening. This fit function is a function for training, and this is the one last function I'm going to add, predict function. Means you can pass any value of, okay. So this is a simple function, predict function means if passing multiple input to checking, like and it will be go to the for loop, taking the entire input, taking the input like in a loop wise, and every time you get the predict, and you will append the predict and return the output like this. Okay, so this is the, till this point I will try to explain this machine learning code, a scratch code or gradient descent code. Actually, this is a gradient descent algorithm code, and where we follow this theoretical part. So please go and try to relate this both equation and come with a fresh mind in the next classroom, where I will be complete this logistic regression with a scratch Python code, and next after the next class you will be use some library, and we are not getting this scratch Python code again. So please try to understand this theoretical part, try to relate this coding part, and I will be repeat it again in once in my next class, and I will complete the logistic regression with the scratch Python code in my next class. Okay, and one good thing is also that this function is really important for understanding the neural network. If you want to understand the neural network, please understanding this function. Okay, so I will stop this class now, and I will sharing the entire I will sharing the this video, this class video with EduVitae, and they will share as soon as possible. Okay, yeah, okay, let me just say this code. Good.